Hey guys, and welcome to my video where I explain the Notice of Treatment Repairs and Replacements form from OREC. Before I do that, my name is Brad Anderson. I am the broker owner of White Rock Realty, and we operate in the states of Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. And if you are not an agent at White Rock, maybe you should be. And if you want to know more about us, you can go to this website here and find out about our commission structure and all the training that we have to offer and all that. And you can set up an appointment with me to walk through that a little bit with you. But this is part of a video series I've done on contracts for Oklahoma. And what you're looking at is kind of a cheat sheet where I list out all the contracts and forms that you'll need for a listing, for a buyer, and for the two lease transactions. So if you want this, I am more than happy to provide it for you for free. Just go ahead and either text me, call me, email me, whatever you'd like. I am an instructor at a local real estate school. We do place a high level on education here because I think the more that you know, the more confident you are, and that is going to lead to more closings. Um, so without further ado, let's review the uh, Oklahoma Real Estate Commission Notice of Treatments, Repairs, and Replacements. So when would you use this? Well, this is likely going to uh, be the result of an inspection that was done on the property that your buyer is looking to go purchase. Now, because this is so closely linked with the residential contract to sale, I have that popped up as well. And in the time reference date, uh, this is the time that you would put in the contract to do all these things. And you might give the buyer a certain amount of time to go and down here, buyer shall have X amount of days to do whatever they need to do, right? Do an inspection, what have you, make sure that everything is as the buyer thinks it is. And so the result of that might be, hey, I found some things on the inspection report that I'd like the seller to address. And at that point, you would do a TRR form, or Notice of Treatment, Repairs, and Replacements. So it pretty much says, as previously agreed in the purchase contract, which is this guy, attached are copies of all written reports obtained by the buyer. So in other words, the inspection report. Unless previously submitted to the seller, buyer requests either no treatments or repairs, or they want something, right? So regardless, they have to fill this out and say they either don't want anything or they want something. So there are two sections to the TRR form. One is, does the buyer want a treatment for wood destroying insects? And that's not just termites, but that is carpenter ants, all sorts of things that destroy the wood. And that may have been revealed in the inspection. Well, then the second portion is the actual repairs and replacements. So the reason why they call it this is because it's very important for you as a realtor to denote whether you want something repaired or replaced. Okay. It's not enough to just simply say, address the leaky faucet in the bathroom, or fix the leaky faucet and like, what does that mean? Does that mean repair it, or does that mean replace it? And you would be surprised at what your buyer truly thinks and what they want. So by way of an example, I have put in here a sample of what a typical buyer might want from a property. So inspection report comes back. Let's say the air conditioning isn't cooling as efficiently. and the buyer wants to have that HVAC serviced by a professional company. Next, they want to replace a broken doorknob on the front door. So that's very, very specific. There's no confusion about what needs to be done. Lastly, they want to replace the hot water heater. Okay, so the reason I put these examples in here is because to service the HVAC and to replace the front doorknob are not very expensive. But to replace a water heater, that's expensive. But hey, that's what the buyer wants. And so let's come down here. And it gives you an option to attach another page if you have more stuff. But this is there's a lot of space right here, right? So you could probably get it done within that space. All right. The seller then gets this and they respond to it. Now, mind you, they can either choose accepts whatever we put up here, right, as it's written, or as I've done, check modifies. So be mindful, though, that this language says all other treatments, repairs, and replacements requested by the buyer shall be in force unless you modify it below. So all these three things are going to get done unless the seller speaks to it here. And they have. So the seller says, seller will not replace hot water heater. All right, so what does that mean? That means that the HVAC and the replacement of the broken doorknob are being agreed to. Okay? All right. And then it says, if the seller doesn't respond, or, it basically says, buyer requested seller complete and pay for in full all treatments, repairs, and replacements listed in this notice. However, no agreement has been reached with the seller. Buyer hereby elects to accept the property in its present condition without correction of or other action by the seller with respect to the TRRs listed in this notice. All other provisions of the contract shall remain in full force and effect. So basically, this means that the buyer wanted stuff done. Seller couldn't come to an agreement with the buyer to do it. And so the buyer said, you know what? Doesn't matter anymore. I'm just going to accept it in its present condition. Okay. So that's all that means. So let's go back to the residential contract and talk about the section that speaks to TRRs. So it addresses the treatment of wood destroying insects first, right? But then it says treatments, repairs, replacements, and review. Buyer and or buyer's broker, if applicable, within 24 hours after the expiration of the time period referenced in 7A, right here. So you've put in X amount of days to complete an inspection. All right. So it says within 24 hours after that, shall deliver to the seller in care of the seller's broker, if applicable, a copy of all written reports obtained by the buyer. So that's the inspection report pertaining to the property, and buyer shall select one of the following. Okay. A, if in the sole opinion of the buyer, results of the investigations, inspections, or reviews are unsatisfactory, the buyer may cancel the contract by delivering written notice of cancellation to the buyer. So it doesn't matter if they're going to give the seller a chance to remedy what they found. They can just say, you know what? I got in here. It's much worse than I thought, and I want out. Okay, they can do that and get a refund of their earnest money. Or buyer, upon completion of all investigations, inspections, and reviews, waives the buyer's right to cancel in 7C2A above by delivering to seller in care of seller's broker, if applicable, a written list of all the TRRs that they want fixed, okay? Including repairs caused by termites and other wood-destroying insects that are not in normal working order. And then it says, buyer and seller shall have X amount of days, and it's 7 if it's left blank, after the buyer or buyer's broker, if applicable, delivers the completed TRR form to negotiate these repairs. Okay, so you're given an extra amount of time to actually negotiate the repairs. If a written agreement is reached, seller shall complete all agreed upon treatments, repairs, and replacements prior to the closing at seller's expense unless otherwise agreed in writing. If a written agreement is not reached within the time specified in this provision, so this number of here, seller and buyer authorize the holder of the earnest money without any further written consent or authorization from either party to release the earnest money to the buyer, and the contract shall terminate. Okay. Buyer at buyer's sole option may deliver notice to seller or seller's broker, if applicable, no later than the time specific in this provision that buyer accepts the property in this present condition and will proceed to the closing. So that is this. Okay. But there are a couple of very specific and concrete outs that the buyer can exercise during the negotiation of the repairs. Okay. So it goes hand in hand with this section here, but this is the actual form that's filled out to ask for repairs. All right, and that's pretty much it on that. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and I hope you found the video helpful.